What is the city's most transported museum? And when did NASA send a mission to Pollokshaws? Find out now on this episode of Astonishing Glasgow. In episode 48, I talked about the world's oldest bike, which is now on display in the Riverside Museum. But what's the history of the museum and how has it travelled across Glasgow? The first seeds of the Transport Museum were planted a lot earlier than you may think, and begin with Glasgow's first ever public museum in 1876. Kelvin Grove House stood on the site of what is now the skateboard park in Kelvin Grove Park. Built in 1782 as a private home, the house and its land was purchased by Glasgow City Council in 1845, mostly for the land to become Kelvin Grove Park. But in 1874 the house was extended south to be converted into Glasgow's very first museum. Opened in 1876 to house art and natural history, it would also house examples of new technology and industry, like this James Watt beam engine which was on display outside. The house was demolished in 1899, leaving only the south wing standing. Then that too was demolished to make way for the 1901 Great Exhibition. When the Kelvin Grove Art Gallery that we all love today was opened in 1901, Glasgow finally had a brand new, purpose-built space for its treasure. The Industrial and Transport Collection, along with cabinets of model ships, were put on display in the brand new galleries. Glasgow was at the cutting edge of technology and proud of its contribution to the transport revolution. The Transport Museum would officially get its own facility in 1964, with Glasgow being the last city in Britain to get rid of its tramway system. The decision was made to preserve examples of the much-loved trams for future generations, but it was clear that Kelvin Grove would no longer be big enough to house them. The site picked for the new museum was perfect for the job. Copelaw Hill works on Albert Drive in Pollokshaws began as a purpose-built tram facility in 1893, and by the early years of the 20th century, this was the city's main tram terminus, the tram depot and the factory that built Glasgow's very own trams, right here in the erecting sheds. So when the last trams pulled into the Copelaw Hill depot for the last time in 1963, the Transport Museum could be assembled round about it and opened to the public in 1964. By the time I was visiting as a toddler, the Transport Museum had everything from bikes to trolley buses. My favourite parts being the model railway, and I always remember the carpet in the cafe with the multicoloured steam locomotives weaved into it. Being a Southsider, I was taken there a lot as it was a free day out. I remember Jackie Stewart's F1 car, the Royal coaches and the Scottish steam locomotives, all etched into my memory, along with the very particular smell. Let me know in the comments below what your memories of the Transport Museum are. Now, the Transport Museum even went extraterrestrial in 1971 when the Apollo 10 command module landed. In just 5 days from August the 11th till the 16th, more than 56,000 people queued up to get a look, with the line of people orbiting the museum. The same module can be found nowadays in the London Science Museum. By the 1980s, the museum was once again outgrowing its facility, and the old works were in need of repair to keep them secure and watertight. At the very same time, Glasgow's Kelvin Hall was being succeeded as the city's main events arena with the opening of the SEC. The opportunity was taken to build a brand new facility for the Transport Museum and part of the old Kelvin Hall. The trams and buses left the tramway for the last time in 1987 to head west. It was expected that once the Transport Museum had moved out, the old works would be demolished. And although some of the building did meet its end, The remaining portion would find a brand new use as the Tramway Theatre and Events venue. Whilst I was filming outside, I went inside for a wee look, and much to my surprise, there are still tram tracks in the old assembly hall, and even an old Mark III Escort cabriolet as part of an art installation by Jasleen Kaur. At the back of the tramway is a lovely wee oasis in the city. These are the Hidden Gardens. A really nice place for a cup of tea, a wander and an Empire biscuit. And just beyond the garden wall, behind the bins, there are even more tram lines as evidence of this building's past use. The most recent development on the Copelaw Hill depot site is the Glasgow Gurdwara. This astonishing looking building is the first purpose-built Sikh temple in Scotland and was completed in 2013. But back to the Transport Museum, and a quick reminder that if you are enjoying this video, please hit the thumbs up button below, and if you didn't already, hit the subscribe button for notifications when the next video goes live. Thank you. In its new location at the Kelvin Hall, the extra space allowed for its most famous feature with the recreated street scene. As usual, it's been a struggle to get a good collection of pictures to do the museum justice, but this street was absolutely jam-packed with atmosphere. It was also built in the passageway used by the animals when the circus was held at the Kelvin Hall, so it was said to smell a lot like elephant pee by those who remember the stench from the circus when it was in town. The entrance steps were once right here, but they are now replaced by a gym, as in 2010 the museum was set to move again. Kelvin Hall would be the last Glasgow Transport Museum to feature the Royal Coaches. A lot of the historic buses would relocate to the Vintage Vehicle Trust in Bridgeton, including LA1, the first of its kind in Glasgow, and it would be the last time you would be able to get up close to a lot of the cars and bikes. Now I'm an open-minded kind of guy. I even have a good friend who identifies as a double-decker. I'd tell you his name, but he wishes to remain an omnibus. But even I have struggled to warm to the new museum. In 2010, the new Riverside Museum would open on the filled-in location of the historic York Hill Quay. Some of the last warehouses from Glasgow's time as a trading hub were demolished to make way for the shiny new building designed by renowned architect Zaha Hadid. Maybe I'm a grumpy old man now, or maybe I have too many fond memories of the previous museums, but to me there is just not enough space in this new museum. I feel particularly fed up by the cars and boat models being so high up that you can't properly see them, and then there's the bikes being relegated to the light fittings. It just seems that the building is very flashy from the outside, but not big enough for the collection. So if you do need a bigger fix for your old transport addiction in the city, the aforementioned Vintage Vehicle Trust in Bridgeton hosts open days throughout the year, as seen in episode 27. You can also arrange a look at the cars, trams and models that are not on display at the Riverside by booking a visit to the Glasgow Museum Resource Centre in Nits Hill. But don't just turn up, you do need to arrange a visit, and I will add details in the description below. Now, it may just be me that has a problem with the new museum, as visitor numbers have rocketed after the move. With over 1 million visitors per year, it must be doing something right, and it is the only place where you will see the world's oldest bike, featured in episode 47, or a Sentinel steam truck, talked about in episode 9. And as much as I prefer the old museums, I am sure I'll be back to the Riverside some point to make a future episode of Astonishing Glasgow. I hope you've enjoyed this trip around the stops on the Transport Museum's route. If you did, please remember to hit that like and subscribe button and share my videos with your friends. If you would like to help me make future episodes, please hit that super thanks button below to make a small donation. Everything is appreciated, and these are the names of the people who have donated since the last episode. If you want to get in touch, use the comments section or head over to my Facebook and Instagram pages. All the links are below in the video description. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time in Astonishing Glasgow. Right, I'm going to have this Cadbury's double decker. I'll see you all next time.